Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Is a
Hot Mic. Hot Mic. On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo. Dom Izzo.
Good Thursday morning. We're in the middle of this crap edition of Hot Mic on WDAY Extra at InForum.com. It is snowing, it's blowing out there. For everybody at home today, we might have a much larger viewing audience for our show, that people are at home, not going to school or e-learning today. You're looking at a live shot outside the Ralph, which will have hockey teams in there. I'm not sure how many fans will be there today for the opening day of the North Dakota Boys State Hockey Tournament here on this Thursday. Good morning, everybody. I am Dom Izzo, host of said show. Welcome to Hot Mic on a busy Thursday, and the weather is trying to do its best to interrupt the sports calendar. Some things are moving forward, others are not. We'll update you on what we know as we move forward today. What I can tell you, a couple things. Those trying to go to the Bison basketball game tonight, that is still happening. St. Thomas got here a couple days ago, so St. Thomas NDSU still happening tonight at the Shack. The Boys State Hockey Tournament is still a go, obviously. I would say if you haven't got to Grand Forks yet, I'd say watch it on television. Shameless self-promotion for us here on Extra because it's not great out there. As for the region championship games that are happening in girls basketball, as far as I know, everything is still a go there. We will update, obviously, as events warrant here over the next couple hours. I know there are still highways shut down between Jamestown, Bismarck, and Fargo and the South Dakota border. So if you don't have to go anywhere, don't. Let the plows do what they can. And from what our storm tracker meteorologists are saying, the wind is going to die down slowly, but it will. And hopefully get this stuff cleaned up and then settle in for a cold day today and tomorrow. Finally, we'll hit a change here come on Saturday. With that said, also, the Minnesota State Girls Hockey Tournament began yesterday. Despite what we know is going to hit the Twin Cities, the Class A quarterfinals were played yesterday. The AA quarters begin at 11 a.m. this morning. And in about 12 hours' time, the Moorhead girls will be on the ice as they will play in the state tournament for the first time in 17 years, as they'll match up with Gentry Academy. Starting his day bright and early with us. I probably woke him up here. Ryan Kraft joins us on I don't even know if he slept, honestly, because it's game day from St. Paul on a snowy Thursday. So good morning. Give us, I know you were looking out the window for me. How bad is it in the Twin Cities right now?
It's bad. I mean, it looks like there's rough travel. And again, I did not sleep very much last night. So I was up at 5 a.m. watching the news and just kind of trying to track the weather a little bit. And a lot of the reports were much the same. Like, if you can stay home, stay home.
I know that you guys changed your schedule already. Tell me about this whole week. Obviously, it was going to be strenuous. Just you want to have the banquet, the game, all that. But then Mother Nature decides to throw a monkey in the wrench. How much did that affect everything planning-wise of when you decide, how early you decided to leave then?
It adjusted everything about 24 hours. Instead of leaving Wednesday around noon, we decided to get down here and leave Tuesday after practice. So we got down here. We had a ton of fun. We got a skate in yesterday at Tria Rink, which I thought the girls really, really enjoyed. It's the same rink that the Wild practice in. Yeah. So it was a fun bonding time, really. And I feel pretty lucky that the weather threw that wrench in because we were able to spend that time together.
What was the trip down like, Ryan? Just getting that, like, hey, we know where we're going. This is where we wanted to go, and we're on our way there.
It's just exciting. I mean, that's the word I keep using, but everybody's just so excited. The girls are excited. The coaches are excited. Our trainers, our AD, the town, the community, Moorhead hockey. Everyone is just so excited that the girls are back where they belong.
Tell me about this anticipation. We visited last Friday after the win. When for you did the switch flip to say, okay, now it's time to – was it when you found out who you were playing, or was it almost immediately that, all right, it's time for preparation now?
I think we've taken the last 4 or 5 days and really enjoyed the section championship and really savored every moment of it, because I mean, let's be honest, it was a huge deal. Yeah. It really was, and it still is, and it will be for a long time. But I think this morning when I woke up, it was time to flip the page. It was time to, all right, we're no longer section champs. We're just one of 8 teams in a state tournament, and what do we need to do to be successful tonight?
You're playing a team that obviously has a lot of attention and controversy around it with Gentry Academy. I'm sure I probably know where you stand on this, but this is the opponent you have to play. For people that are not super familiar with this opponent, give us, I guess, a little bit of background. It's a private school. It's obviously based around hockey. What kind of challenge do you have here tonight?
Well, I think any one of the other 7 teams in the tournament pose numerous challenges. You know, they wouldn't be in a state tournament if they weren't, but Gentry brings a high scoring offense to the table. They have a lot of girls with the potential to put some big numbers on a board, and you know, they have 2 really, really solid defensemen in the Gazdic twins. So we're going to have to be ready to go. And, you know, the message really doesn't change as far as I'm concerned. You show up, you outcompete, you outwork, you win the little battles all over the ice, you win races to pucks, and you capitalize on your opportunities. So, you know, we're certainly thankful to be here, but you know, we didn't come down here to lose either.
You and I were joking about this last Friday that, you know, it seems like Moorhead always gets that 8:30 game, and here you are. You got so when you saw the draw come out, you just kind of chuckle, or what was your reaction when you saw who you're going to be? But A, the time, and B, who you were paired against.
Well, I think the time poses enough challenges in itself. You know, we can worry about the opponent. It really doesn't matter what time you play a certain opponent. It's just what do you do with the girls during the day to keep their minds occupied, to keep them overthinking, to keep them, you know, not laying around and being lethargic when they hit the ice tonight. So we've got a few activities planned for them today. We're going to keep them moving, keep them upbeat, keep them positive, and you know, hopefully by the time we hit the ice tonight, we'll be ready to go.
How about for you for the same way? I'm not trying to overthink it as well, right?
Well, for sure. At the end of the day, it's a hockey game, and we're extremely lucky to be here, and we're gonna I think, based on practice yesterday, the girls are ready to go. They're gonna take this challenge and they're gonna run with it, and you know, we'll see what happens tonight.
What's the exact time? When can you get over to the rink? When are you hoping to get over to the rink?
I think we're gonna have our pregame meal around 3:30, 4 o'clock, and let them come back here and just kind of simmer for a little bit. Pack the bags up around 6 and walk over. So.
And that's, by the way, that's pretty neat in its own right that you can do that. When you look at this field, you've seen some of these teams before. Describe the other 7 teams that are there and how you feel like you match up against these other teams.
Well, we haven't seen Centennial or Rosemount this year, but I do know that they play a very similar style to what we play. You know, we're very conscious on the back end, conscious of our D zone, the D side of the puck. You know, we're very opportunistic teams. And then you get into the top 4 seeds with Andover, Minnetonka, Edina, and Gentry, all very, very high offensive, high octane type teams that come with speed and skill. And then Lakeville North, who, you know, credit to that coaching staff. They came up the first weekend of the year and they lost to Roseau on Friday and they lost to us on Saturday. And, you know, I think they rattled off 11 or 12 wins in a row after that, and then, you know, had another little bump, and now they've rattled off another 10. So they've had an interesting season in their own right. But, you know, I said it before, you get to a state tournament and you can't take anyone for granted. You can't take anyone lightly. And, you know, everyone's got to be ready to play all the time.
All right, here comes the dumb question of the day. Is a quick start mandatory? Like the first goal in a game like this, is it even more important or not so much?
Well, it's certainly going to calm the nerves.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing. I think if we get the first goal, I think the girls will settle in and be fine the rest of the game. If they get the first goal, who knows what can happen. Even it doesn't even have to be a goal. It could be a bad call. It could be a bad bounce. It could be any number of things. But, we're going to preach the same. Like, we know what we need to do to be successful. We know how we have to play to be successful. And it has to be that for 51 minutes.
What do you think emotion-wise and I'm sure you've talked about this, when they get introduced one by one? That's exciting. That's the moment, I know, for so many hockey players in the state of Minnesota. What do you think have you talked to them about that, or is that something you just want to leave it alone to have them experience that on their own tonight?
No, yesterday and said, what should we say, when we get introduced? Well, what do we do? So you do whatever pops into your head at that particular moment. As long as it's clean and respectful and it makes our community and our program proud, they're free to say whatever they want. Let's have fun with it.
Are there any Kraft T-shirts coming out? Do you think is that a possibility for tonight or no?
I've been told that they're in the building, but we'll see what happens.
Well, that's a great question. I was going to ask that, like, for parents, fans, I know they would love to come. How many were able to get down before things got nasty?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I know my wife is stuck at home with my family. They're probably, Moorhead put together a big watch party tonight at the Cullen Hockey Center.
Nice.
So there's going to be lots of people there supporting us, whether they're in the building or not. We know that they're watching. We know that they're supporting. We know they're behind us, and we're going to do everything in our power to make them proud.
So yesterday, as you well know, is the 43rd anniversary of the Miracle on Ice. I only reference this. Is there a Herb Brooks speech in you before you take the ice tonight? What's the message before you guys go out there to take the ice?
Well, I pretty much read every book out there on Herb Brooks. He's kind of my idol. I was fortunate enough to meet him when I was at the University of Minnesota.
Awesome.
And just an unbelievable human being. So I know that there's a lot of him in what I teach and how I try to send the message to the girls. And, I think there'll be probably one or two quotes that come out tonight, but again, we got to keep it loose. We got to keep it fun and let the girls enjoy every minute of this.
Do you have any of those kind of plaid pants that Herb used to have? You have any of those you can rock tonight on TV or what?
No, but my coaching staff hit the ice yesterday in these orange jumpsuits with white stripes down the side. And they honestly looked, if they would have been blue and white instead of orange and white, it would have looked like the 1980 Olympic team.
Nice. That's fantastic. I know you got a long day. I really appreciate you getting up and starting the day with us. Good luck tonight. You're going to have a ton of people watching back here, and have a great game tonight. Thanks for the time.
Well, thank you for all the support and having me on again to talk about Spud girls hockey.
Love to do it, man. Congratulations on a great run and good luck tonight. All right.
Thank you, sir.
There he goes, Ryan Kraft, Moorhead girls hockey coach. Spuds and Gentry Academy coming up tonight. That's the final game of 4. It's supposed to start at 8. I know that these games are streamed only, so they don't have a ton of commercials yet. So it'd probably be somewhere in that window, as long as the first game doesn't run long. Which is between, as Eric showed you, Minnetonka and Centennial is the first of the night session games going on at the X. And for those I've had a couple of people ask me, the games are not on television today. That starts tomorrow. It's streamed only. Prep Spotlight .tv has the coverage of those. It's a free stream, so in case you're wondering about that, you can find the games there. Moorhead and Gentry going later tonight. As you see the other games, Rosemount and Andover, Lakeville North and Edina. Centennial will face Minnetonka in the game prior to the Spuds facing Gentry. So should be a great day of hockey there, and as long as up at the Ralph Engelstad Arena for today. So the weather outside certainly is conducive for hockey, but it's not great for people that want to go, because I'm sure there would be great fan support from Moorhead, Health, for all the teams that would be at the X, and certainly up at the Ralph today. It's just not feasible. So you know what? The games are either on the computer, phone, television. Sit back, enjoy that, and it'll be a great day on the sports front there to see who's moving on to the semifinals. And we'll show you on the Class A side what happened yesterday coming up in our next segment. Let's set up the rest of our guest lineup here. We got a busy show coming for you here on this Thursday. At 9:35, my friend Brian Shawn will join us, the voice of UND basketball and football. He's working this morning on a matinee for the UND men, who we already assumed, I think, about a month ago, the Fighting Hawks we could put them in pen for the play-in games. That is not the case if UND wins and gets some help this weekend. They have an 11 a.m. tip this morning against Western Illinois. We'll visit with Brian from the Betty coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, Jory Collins will join us again from snowy St. Paul. The Bison women left Tuesday to make sure they got down there, and they have a monstrous game tonight as they'll take on the Tommies. They start the night tied for second in the Summit League standings. UND's women play at Western Illinois. We had Mallory Bernhardt on the show yesterday. Bison women right now have the inside track for that 2 seed. If they win tonight, they will clinch at least the 3rd position in the Summit League standings. That's what's at stake for the Bison women tonight if they can take care of business against St. Thomas. And at 10:35, Sam Goetzinger will join us live from the Ralph as he'll be on the call this weekend of the Boys State Hockey Tournament to give us the lowdown on what he's expecting not only today but over the next couple of days as we'll determine a state champion. We'll see if the West can get off the schneid. They have not won a game in the opening round. No West team has since 2019. It's been an East sweep in 2021 and 22. Sam, along with Dean Wilson and Rachel Herzog, will be our on-air team this weekend in Grand Forks, beginning today with the first game at noon. So that's our guest lineup. We are off and rolling here on this snowy Thursday. We'll come back. We'll show you 2 ridiculous performances last night from the Girls State Hockey Tournament in St. Paul and update you on any other weather cancellations or adjustments on a snowy Thursday. We're back after this on WDAY Extra and InForum.com. All right, welcome back, everybody, here. Thursday morning edition, Hot Mike. Our thanks to Ryan Kraft for joining us from St. Paul. Spuds and Gentry Academy coming up tonight at probably around 8:15, best we can say, for when they will drop the puck on that game tonight. As far as the other region girls basketball tournaments, we know Region 1 was not happening tonight anyway because the Bison are playing tonight. The Region 1 championship is now set. Northern Cass won yesterday in that makeup semifinal against Kindred. So Central Cass and Northern Cass will play tomorrow night in the Region 1 final. Region 3 had its games moved, again, because of the weather, that they were going to play yesterday, then decided against that, and then moved the semifinals to tonight. Last we had been told that is still the case for Jamestown, for Kidder County, Lytton HMB, Edgeley, Cullen, Montpelier, and Carrington. Again, they're not supposed to happen until tonight, but knowing where we're at weather-wise, especially in the middle part of the state, not good. That would not surprise me if we hear something sometime this morning that those games potentially are moved at least another day. Nothing confirmed on that, but that's where we're at with Region 3. Region 4 in Devil's Lake is still on for tonight. That championship game, featuring Langdon and North Prairie is still happening tonight. The Region 5 championship game in Mandan with Shiloh and Garrison is still on as well. Region 6 taking place in Minot at the Dome. All Redeemers and Rugby facing off for that one is still on schedule. Region 7 features Bowman County and Grant County Mott Regent at Dickinson Trinity. That's slated still for tonight. And then the Region 8 championship game with Kenmare Bowbells against Tioga out at Williston State is still on. So as of now, it's our new show motto that everybody's still a go for the 6 of the 8. And we'll update you on Region 3 if we hear anything between now and 11 o'clock this morning. As for the opening day of the Girls State Hockey Tournament in St. Paul, we had 2 dynamite performances we got to show you from yesterday. Let's start. The final game of the day featured Fergus Falls, the Otters back at state for the first time in 4 years, facing South St. Paul, the final game of the day at the X, in a game that was not settled in regulation or overtime. It went double overtime. Otters had a chance. I flipped it on here right at this flurry in the second overtime where the Otters had a chance here. Nice little backhand shot that was stopped down low by Annika Jurkis, who was really good for Fergus Falls. This, though, was the move of the night. Sarah Winstonson makes the move, the deke, and the goal to win it for the Packers of South St. Paul, 1-0 in double overtime. A heck of a move, and that's a heck of a way to win the game. Another look at it. The deke, that was really, really impressive. And South St. Paul edges out the Otters. That's a tough way to lose if you're Fergus Falls. 1-0 in double overtime. They outshot Fergus 6-0 in the first overtime, 7-3 in the second. They outshot them for the game 42-19 and end up moving on to the state semifinals, which will be tomorrow afternoon. They'll play in the second game about 1 o'clock tomorrow. So congratulations to them and to Fergus Falls. Heck of a year. They'll go into the consolation round against Albert Lee. They'll play that game at noon today at the Tria Rink. I know they wanted no part of that, but that was a heck of a way to win it if you're South St. Paul. Now, the first game did not have any of the drama that one did of the night session. Defending champion Warroad opening up with Albert Lee, and our colleague Brad Schlossman wrote a story about their stud, who you know, if you follow girls hockey, former Fargo North-South standout, Riley Bartz, who scored 67 goals last season for the Spruans as they won the state championship, and she is off doing ridiculous things at Warroad, scoring there on the one-timer on the power play to get the first goal of the game for the Warriors, which just came 3:16 into this game. I'm just going to tell you right now, Warroad outshot Albert Lee 67-7 in the game. Here she fanned on that one-timer and still was able to poke home the rebound for her second of the game. That made it a 2-0 score. Warroad added another to make it 3-0. This is the highlight goal of the day. Bursts through, beats the goaltender. That was the hat trick. She added another goal later in the game. She had 4 yesterday as Warroad sneaked by Albert Lee 15-1, the final score. She actually had one more. She actually had 5 last night in this game. 5 goals, 2 assists for Warroad. She's going to play her collegiate hockey at the University of St. Thomas. And I'm sure some may say, well, wait a minute. She moved and the answer is yes. And it's not the first, and it's not going to be the last. And has a chance to win back-to-back state championships in 2 different states. You remember she scored the overtime winner for North-South to beat Davies this time last February, at Shields Arena, now at the Xcel Energy Center last night with a 5-goal performance as Warroad cruised by 15-1 over Albert Lee. So they'll get South St. Paul in the Class A girls semis, which will be played on Friday. We've got the 2A quarterfinals that'll take center stage today, and that the semifinals for each class come tomorrow. So that was impressive. I mean, Warroad always has dynamite talent, and now they're even getting it from North Dakota on the Riley Bartz angle. That was something else to watch last night. So congrats to them, and we'll see the Warriors coming up tomorrow afternoon against South St. Paul. For those wondering, I've already got an email in, so we'll show you I was going to do this later in the show, but we can do it now, our broadcast schedule today, because people are asking me, okay, where can we watch the boys state hockey tournament? Well, today you can watch it right here. So if you're already watching us, just keep it right here, because at noon, the coverage will begin with the first of 4 quarterfinals, with that first game between Grand Forks Red River and Jamestown. That'll be followed by Minot and West Fargo Cheyenne at about 2:30. We'll take a brief break and then be back at 5:30 with the first evening quarterfinal between Bismarck Legacy, making their debuts at state, and they'll take on Fargo Davies, last year's runners-up. And then we'll wrap it up with Fargo South Shanley against Bismarck Century about 8 o'clock. All those games are available as well on the WDAY Sports Plus tab at InForum.com. You'll be able to watch all the games there. Tomorrow we'll bring you the consolation games as well, streaming those beginning at noon and 2:15. You can watch those at InForum.com. And then we're on ABC on WDAY tomorrow night for the semifinals beginning at 5:30, and then the second game at 8 o'clock. And then championship night at 6:30 will hit the airwaves for the title game, but the 5th and 3rd place games, you can also stream those at InForum.com on our WDAY Sports Plus tab. So you just go on InForum.com. I'm looking at it right now. On the top part, it says ND Hockey Tourney. You click on that, and then you will be guided right where you need to go for where you want to watch. You hit Watch Live, and it's going to take you right to our live feed for the games. So you'll be all set. Now, you have to pay for it. Got to pay Benell's outrageous salary. So we got to do that one way or the other, but that's how you will watch the games. And that begins at noon today with the first game with Red River and Jamestown. And about an hour from now, we'll check in live at the Ralph. Sam Goetzinger will join us to get us ready for a busy day. 4 games today with, I'm not sure, probably less than family and friends that are going to be at the Ralph. I know the weather in Grand Forks not as brutal as it was here or certainly south of here, but they're still getting some. And with the interstates the way they are, stay home today. You can watch on TV, do that. It'll be pretty good. It'll be worth your while there. We're due for a break. We'll take one now. Speaking of Grand Forks, we'll check in there when we come back. We've got matinee Summit League basketball today. UND is not out of the mix here on the men's side as they will take on Western Illinois. We'll visit with the voice of the Fighting Hawks. Shawn will join us. We come back on a Thursday morning edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra and InForum.com. Welcome back, everybody, on a snowy Thursday morning. Hot Mike rolling on here, WDAY Extra, InForum.com. That's our tower cam from Grand Forks, which actually looks kind of benign right now, which is a good thing. I'm not sure how many will be at the state hockey tournament today. The whole arena is going to be busy today because we've got on one side the state hockey tournament, as we told you about, which we'll preview about an hour, which begins at noon on the Ralph side. On the Betty side, there are 2 monster basketball games. Later tonight, the Region 2 championship game is supposed to happen between Thompson and Grafton, the winner of that going to the Girls State B in Minot next week. And they'll play a game this morning, which maybe 2 weeks ago nobody thought would have any sort of implications, but lo and behold, it does. The University of North Dakota men's basketball team will host Western Illinois at 11 a.m. Our good friend and colleague Brian Shawn, the voice of the Fighting Hawks football and basketball teams, apparently snowed in Grand Forks, joins us this morning. What's the earliest sporting event you ever called? Is this up there?
I think this is it, Dom.
Okay.
I think this is it, man. I don't know if I've ever done anything earlier than 11 a.m.
Say, we did the marathon, man, and that was tough. It's 7:30 in the morning to be ready to go for a live sporting event is not great. So this should be weird, easy, man.
It's weird, especially for a weekday. Like on a Saturday, you can kind of see it, but on a weekday game, it's really a unique situation. Fortunately for UND, they practice at this time. They practice like 10 to noon.
Okay.
So for them, it really shouldn't be a huge deal getting their bodies adjusted. In Western Illinois, I talked to Trenton Masner a few minutes ago. They flew from Chicago to Fargo yesterday, practiced in Fargo, and then bussed up here last night.
Wow.
So
okay.
All things considered, it wasn't too bad.
I know, because we had Mallory Bernard on yesterday. They flew to Chicago Tuesday. Then we're driving yesterday from Chicago to lovely Macomb for their game tonight, which I want to chat about that in a second. I mentioned off the top, I don't think anybody 2 weeks ago thought this game would have any significance for UND, but Paul Sather's team is certainly on the second half of the Summit League schedule. Brian has flipped the switch. What happened? Why are they playing so much better now?
Well, I think they shortened the rotation. They were playing like 11, 12 guys, and they could never figure out which groups to play with which groups. And I think they finally just settled on kind of this 7, 8 guy rotation, and sometimes it even shorter than that, where they're playing a lot of guys 40 minutes a game. They're offensively, they're a lot more smooth. They're shooting the ball a lot better. I think you see guys just more comfortable in their roles. And the way they're shooting the three, I think, is a big reason why they're in this position. They average 29 threes a game in conference play, which leads the Summit League. That's more than like Oral Roberts or SDSU or anybody. And they had 18 against Kansas City a couple of weeks ago. And it's not just one guy. It's a bunch of different guys that can make them, including their five guys, Sone Sarceedze. So I just think offensively they've been able to make some noise and play a lot looser and freer and make enough plays to win games.
Well, last Thursday night, as I'm at the Shack, we're calling the Bison women's game, and I know you're on the air with the UND women. I'm following the score out of Tulsa. I'm like, how it started? I'm like, all right, well, Oral Roberts is doing what they normally do. And then I look back, I'm like, wait a minute, UND's within 5 and end up losing by 3. I mean, that was eye-opening, I think, to everybody what happened last Thursday.
And what I don't think people realize, Dom, is the travel that UND had to go through to get to Tulsa. I mean, the interstate was closed. They had to take a 2-hour bus trip around side roads in Minnesota to get to Fargo and then realize they missed their flight from Fargo. So they had to bus all the way to, like, Tulsa from Grand Forks, and they got there an hour before their shoot-around. They went to their shoot-around. They went back and napped for an hour and then went and played. I mean, it was – the fact that they were even in that game, considering that travel, was horrendous. And then to bounce back 2 nights later and make enough plays down the stretch of Kansas City to win, it showed a lot of resilience, I think, for a team that has shown, the ability maybe to struggle to close out games earlier this season. They were able to close one out there on the road.
And now, I mean, I think it was a foregone conclusion for some that follow that UND was going to be playing Friday. That's not the case if at the Summit League tournament. That's not the case if they can take care of business and get a little bit of help this weekend.
It's possible. I mean, if they win both at home this weekend, if USD loses to Oral Roberts tonight, South Dakota State beats Kansas City tonight, and then USD beats Kansas City on Saturday, they're in. They're the 6th. So it's kind of hard to believe that there is even a path to 6, but there is a path. Now, that could all get blown up because so many things have to go one way or another, but at least gives you a chance to stay out of Friday, which I know everybody wants to, no matter whether you're on the women or men's side. No one wants to play Friday if you don't have to.
Well, and then if the Bison are able to get the 3, and if they can go a long way if they beat St. Thomas, we've got NDSU UND as a quarterfinal in Sioux Falls on Sunday night.
Yeah, man. How about that, right? I mean,
no one would have thought that. No way.
No one would have thought that a month ago.
Well, and what you're saying is not out of the realm of possibilities for Oral Roberts to beat South Dakota. That's not outrageous to think. And for SDSU to beat Kansas City, those are, and Kansas City's going the wrong way right now. They're after they had a good start, they're trending the wrong way. That again, who knows at this time? But my bigger question on this, and I was talking with McFeely about it on Tuesday's show, does it matter? Oral Roberts are they so much better? You've covered so many of these tournaments down there. You've seen freak things happen in Sioux Falls.
Yeah, I think Oral Roberts has shown at least a few more chinks in the armor the last couple of weeks. And I think the ultimate test is going to be the final regular season game where they go to Frost.
Right.
Okay, let's find out what you're made of, because that to me is the toughest place to go play. It's the toughest place to win a game. It's the best home court advantage. SDSU very quietly is playing a lot better here over the last 3 weeks. Now they got Charlie Easley healthy. They got the rotation set again. So that's a team I think that's going in the right direction. I think NDSU feels like they could have stolen one there last Saturday. They didn't shoot the 3 ball very well, and had a couple more of those gone in. Who knows? They might have been able to take one down there. So, Oral Roberts I still think is the favorite. They got the experience. They got the guys that have been there. They got the best player in the league. But, yeah, man, the ball doesn't always go in the basket as easily as it does in the tournament as it does during the regular season. So you just never know.
Who is your vote for player of the year right now?
Asmus.
Okay.
Yeah. Dom, I think you're probably in the same boat I am. We've watched him play for how many years? I think we take for granted how good he is because he's done it for so long.
Yeah.
We're like, oh yeah, Max is averaging 24 and 7 and does all these things. And I think he, sometimes it's pedestrian because his numbers come so easily to him. But I mean, Masner has had a great year. He's cooled off now the last 3 or 4 games. I wonder if the grind is starting to catch up with
fatigue
him.
on him.
Rob Jeter's playing they're playing his starters a ton of minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're playing a lot of guys 40 minutes a game. And Zeke has come on. Grant is obviously a first teamer. I think if you just look at freakish athletes, I mean, he's going to be in my top 5, no question. But I still think it's the best player and the best team, and I have a hard time replacing anybody with that.
Yeah, I tend to I don't disagree. I think Nelson has to get some more consideration just for what he's done. Like if you take A-Smith off Oral Roberts, they're still really good. If you take Nelson off the Bison, I don't know how many games they win. I guess that's my definition of MVP. That's what I was presenting there.
Yeah, and I think it depends on it. Again, I think it's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah,
player of the year. What does that mean? What does player of the year mean to you?
Right.
Is it what he does? But I just have a hard time believing that. I just have a hard time not putting Max's name down. And I don't know. I'm going to look at the numbers. I'm going to look a lot harder at the league games, at the 18 league games, more than the overall body of work over the course of the non-conference play too. And I'm going to take a long, hard look at it. But right now, I'd say he's got.
Especially if they end up running the table. If they go 18-0, then to me that's a slam dunk. Especially if they win in Brookings, as you mentioned on Saturday. The UND women are in a dogfight with the Bison women. They start the day tied for second. They play in Macomb before they go to St. Paul on Thursday. 2 years ago, you saw this. Mallory Bernhardt's team won 2 games. What is most impressive about 2 years later that they've won 17 and are fighting for a top 2 seed in the Summit League?
I think that the players that were here then didn't just give up. It would have been real easy for some of these players to walk away. They didn't know who their head coach was going to be because he was the interim. They were still interviewing other people, and they were still sticking it out, and they only won 2 games. It would have been really easy just to say, you know what, the heck with this. But Maggie Manson, Claire Orth, Juliette Gordon, those 3 in particular, obviously Casey Barovich and what she's been able to do here in her career. But those seniors, to me, have been the biggest difference makers. I mean, Gordon and Orth are playing at a high level this year. And when you have 23 and 24-year-olds playing for you, that is such a difference than having a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds. They just know how to play. They know the right plays. They're much better defensively. And they're starting to believe and get confident, too. And I think that's the other part. You've seen that with even NDSU, right? I mean, this is a team that, as the team continues to go on, they start to believe, and their experience is starting to show. And I think that's why they are second and third, or tied for second, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, the fact that UND went on the road and swept, and the Bison got swept, and then Oral Roberts had what happened. I mean, now, basically at worst, NDSU or UND are going to be 2 or 3, which is, by the way, really interesting. If they end up winning, they could play one another in the semifinals in Sioux Falls, which is needed in this. You've covered it forever. I have as well, that South Dakota State and USD have ran away. Obviously, the Coyotes have come back to the pack, and SDSU is by far the best team. But the league needs the North Dakota schools to be good, and it's finally seemed like it's happening now.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dom. I mean, you could have a scenario where South Dakota State plays South Dakota in the semis and North Dakota State plays North Dakota in the semis. And that, to me, is very, very good for basketball in this region, because you're right. Like, these teams need to get up to par to challenge the others. It's been long enough now. It's been a decade of being the doormat, quite frankly, for these South Dakota schools, and it does need to change. And I think you're seeing the talent level change. Jory's done a really good job of bringing in talent. I think Mallory's done a nice job finding talent in unique places and other places outside the region too. And it's been fun to see that. It's been fun to see the reemergence. And as you said, I think as you talked about, that 2 seed matters. That second place matters. I mean, you're talking about a guaranteed postseason berth in WNIT. That's a big deal for both of these programs.
And both have acknowledged it too. That's the thing to me. Both have acknowledged that they knowing full well with the challenges. It's a road game playing the Jacks if it ends up coming for whoever plays them in the Summit League Championship game. But I appreciate that both have at least acknowledged and have been open about it.
Yeah, I mean, why hide from it? Why say, and I know it's a lot of people that say, well, we're just trying to worry about ourselves tomorrow. And I get that, and that you have to be that way. But you can't ignore the fact that these are significant strides for each of these programs. I don't think if you're a coach that's still trying to get your team to this point, like, embrace that challenge, embrace that opportunity, because it doesn't happen all the time.
I got an email to ask you about UND football and what to make of Brett Holinka leaving, and is it a red flag about the defensive coordinator for UND leaving so soon before spring ball was supposed to start?
No, it's not. It was a personal situation for Brett. It's something that came up. I don't know a lot of the details about it, but it's something he felt like he needed to do. They decided to push spring ball back until the start of next Wednesday.
Okay.
I believe there will be an announcement here shortly on the new defensive coordinator. I don't think anybody will be surprised by this hire for UND, and I think they'll be just fine. I mean, they have enough people that have been on the staff multiple years. I love Brett. I covered Brett when he was in high school at Dickinson High, trying to tackle Weston Dressler back in 2005 or whatever it was.
That's
so
awesome.
It's I wish him the best because he's a really good dude. And but no, I think everybody loses coaches. Shoot,
Yeah.
I mean every Valley program's going through it. You just got to do the best you can to piece it together and move forward.
All right, brother. Save the voice. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah.
Have a good call. Tell Dosh I said hi, and we'll be
I
watching
will.
down here. All right.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Good to see you,
Dahmer.
man.
Best
Good to see you.
wishes tonight.
All right,
You too, man.
we'll see you in
Thank
Sioux Falls in a couple weeks.
Yes,
there he
you
is.
bet. I'll be there. All right.
Sounds good, man. Brian Shawn from MidCo Sports. He'll be on the call of the game with our good pal Zach Dosh. The coverage begins at 11 a.m. on MidCo, UND, Western Illinois. You heard Brian lay it out there that the Fighting Hawks got to win both games, and then they need Oral Roberts to beat South Dakota tonight. That game is in Vermillion. They need the Jacks to beat Kansas City. That game in Brookings. I think that's probably going to happen. And then they need Kansas City to lose on Saturday to South Dakota. That game also in Vermillion. None of those things are out of the realm of possibility. None. Now, St. Thomas is playing good. We're going to get into that here later before we go. The St. Thomas men this is going to be a tough game for the Bison tonight. It's going to be a challenge for UND on Saturday. But the fact that they are in that position is eye-opening enough that how they've turned things around. Because, I mean, we're talking about throughout the year that UND was 1-7, 1-8, 1-9, 1-10. They're currently now, as we saw the graphic in the conference play, at 5-11. That's come a long way from where they were. And we'll see what happens this morning for the tip, 11 a.m. for UND and Western. We'll take a break, wrap up hour one here on a snowy Thursday morning. You're watching Hot Mike on WDAY Extra at InForum.com. There's a cool shot. The quiet before the storm inside the Ralph as the state hockey tournament will drop the puck here in a couple hours with that first game with Jamestown and Red River. You'll see it live all here on WDAY Extra today. A busy day, a long day for our crew. And as being part of those for many years, I can tell you the first day is sometimes the most exciting because the anticipation of it. And then on the back end, it's a long day, especially for hockey. Those are long days. So shout out to our crew today. It's going to be a long one. How about this? How about some shameless self-promotion for us here? That we're going to have live broadcasts, live sports broadcasts on both here on Extra and on WDAY tonight because we've got the UND or the NDSU men taking on St. Thomas. You'll see that live on WDAY tonight, 7 o'clock for the Bison and the Tommies. And at the same time, we'll have state hockey going on Extra. So that's pretty good stuff. Nothing wrong with that. Not many stations around that can brag about that, and I'll do it up to the hills about what we got going on here both today and tomorrow. For my guy, EB. All right, Benel, I got a tweet here from Adam Schefter giving us the lowdown because A-Raj has come out of his Hobbit. Apparently, it's a partially underground Hobbit-like structure with 300 square feet of space, devoid of light, with a queen bed, a bathroom, and a meditation-like mat on the floor. So he apparently came out to either yesterday or today that he emerged from his darkness retreat. So whether that means we'll have an answer on where he's going to play football in the not-too-distant future, that is left for debate. But at least I'll tell you, the guy, my dad is exactly right on this. He loves the attention, and he gets it here. I mean, he talked about this, and now for the last, whatever it is, 10 days, everybody that covers the National Football League has been harping on this and then some. So whether that means we're going to get any kind of resolution, which is probably, the most important thing on it, that's another story for another day, evidently. But there's a shot apparently of it there. Sky Cave has 300 square foot dark rooms, a queen bed, a bathroom, and a meditation-like mat on the floor. For some people, that's actually where they live, Like that's like a studio apartment in some probably bigger cities. So they're probably not saying, well, that's not all that different from where I live in some places around. Email comes into the show. Dom, going on the heels of you saying that Grant Nelson getting some votes for Summit League Player of the Year, there's another Bison player that should get some votes, and that's Heaven Hamling on the women's side of the Summit League. Without Heaven, I don't think the Bison would still be in the bottom half of that league. If Elle Evans isn't the Freshman Player of the Year in the Summit League, there's something wrong with the voting. Appreciate the email. I would agree on both of those. Women's Player of the Year is going to be an interesting vote. I think Maya Sellen will get quite a bit from South Dakota State. Hannah Cooper will from Oral Roberts. I think Hamling will get some consideration. I don't think Heaven's going to win it. I think it's between Selland or Cooper from Oral Roberts. Heaven's a first-team player. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And if Elle Evans doesn't have newcomer and all freshmen wrapped up, then I don't know what. I mean, she had that wrapped up to me after the Minnesota game. There hasn't been a player in the league at her age to have that kind of impact. What is she? We're at 10 straight games in double figures, and the Bison are going to need 2 more of those, which we'll talk about with Jory Collins here in just a minute when he'll join us from snowy St. Paul. But I would agree on that. The men's side, it is probably going to be overwhelming for Max Asmus. I'm recency bias. I watch Grant Nelson play every game, and I don't know if you take him off, how many games do the Bison win? They've won, 12 overall? 9 league games? I don't think it's many. He actually missed a couple of games with injury, and they didn't win. I mean, I think it goes to show you exactly the kind of value that he has. We'll take a break. We come back. Jory Collins will join us, North Dakota State women's basketball coach, as they start their final 2 games of the regular season and 2 monster opponents. We'll do that when we start hour 2 of Hot Mic. We're back after this.
This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic on the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody, on a snowy Thursday morning. Hot Mic here on WDAY Extra, InForum.com. We'll check back in Grand Forks for the opening day of the state hockey tournament coming up before we say goodbye, as our coverage will begin at noon today from the Ralph Engelstad Arena. We're either in 2 spots on our show today, either in Grand Forks or St. Paul. If we started the show visiting with Moorhead girls hockey coach Ryan Kraft, as the Spuds will play tonight at XL Energy Center against Gentry Academy. Not too far from the X, the Bison women's basketball team is also in St. Paul, as they'll face off against St. Thomas, the first of their last 2 road games and conference games of the regular season, as Jory Collins joins us each and every Thursday. It was a haul to get there. Give us the lowdown. When you got word from the Summit League, when did everything start? All right, we got to make some changes of our travel schedule.
Yeah, I mean, late Sunday night, I was talking with Dave about St. Thomas and what they were talking about doing, and started the ball rolling. And then Monday morning, we kept looking at the weather, and it did not look good. And they're talking – anytime a storm has a name, Dom, Mega Storm Olive,
yeah,
that didn't seem like a good idea to me let's go drive right into that. I mean, they were talking like 20 inches in the cities for 2 full days. So, our instructions from the league were, we think you should leave on Tuesday or it's a no contest. So we didn't really have much of a choice. Get on the bus and head down. And the drive here was easy. There really wasn't a whole bunch Tuesday night. And then, quite honestly, I think it's probably about half of what they said it was going to be. So it's actually turned out to be just fine. I mean, it's not great out there now. I think they got maybe 10 inches. So it'll be slow moving to shoot around in the game today, but we're here. We're all hunkered down in our hotel. Just waiting for an opportunity to get out and go do something.
We
practiced yesterday.
Okay.
Got a full time in the gym, and we maximized all the time just to make sure we were out and running around and getting our feet moving. But it's obviously just part of going on the road, this part of the country.
It's especially in late February in the upper Midwest. Just describe last weekend. Did you get a sense going into it? I think I may have asked you this. You were going to have two completely different type of games, that Kansas City was going to play one way and Oral Roberts was going to play a completely different type of way?
Yeah. I mean, that's just who they both are.
Yeah.
Kansas City's had some injury. They're playing 3 post players for the majority of the game. And they were getting into, that 3-2 zone for make or miss and really trying to slow it down and make it a smaller possession game. It took us quite a while to kind of get that figured out. But I thought eventually we made some plays in the fourth quarter to get away from KC. But I thought they played a pretty good game against us. And then Saturday we knew it was going to be completely opposite. Oral Roberts plays maybe the most possessions in the country, at least if not the most. They're top 5, out of 360 teams in possessions per game. And so that was just back and forth. First 1 to 100 was probably going to win. Do I wish we could play better defense than that? Yeah, but that's also just the style.
The nature of the game, right?
It's when somebody's just all out going to trap and just make it a chaos. You have to be controlled in your chaos and finish plays. And I thought, obviously, in the fourth quarter to go 11 for 11. Now we turned it over several times there, and looked silly a couple times, but we also took advantage enough times there to finish that game off. So yeah, definitely a tale of two styles of play for sure.
I heard how you addressed the team, how proud you were of your home record, 11-1. Describe that. I think it was something you talked to me about before the season even began, about how important you wanted to play really well at home, and to do that was a whole other thing. Describe that of addressing.
I mean, that's just for me and where I grew up coaching. I was at Emporia State for almost however many years and years, and when I left there, we were like 360-35 or something like that. I mean, just ridiculous home record. And it was, hey, you coming in here, you're not winning unless something crazy happens. And, that's easier said than done. And there's certain places that have that kind of aura and impact on you. It just, for me, if we want to get to where I think we want to be and be contenders every single year and compete for championships, you got to be really good on your home floor, and you got to take pride in being good on your home floor. And so we set out this year, I think, especially after we probably beat Minnesota early on our home floor, then our team was like, okay, this is our place, let's protect this. And I thought we've just played some of our best basketball, obviously, at home in front of our home crowd, and enjoyed it, and the girls had fun playing at home, which is a huge part of it. So that's something, obviously, like you said, easier said than done, but I thought we did a good job this year of establishing some home court advantage.
Did you just make it really hard for you guys to get games going forward now?
But yeah, speaking of, we just got dropped. TCU just dropped us last week, and New Mexico just dropped us last week. So we were supposed to have New Mexico here. We were supposed to open at TCU.
Man.
And they just said they're not going to sign the contract. We've been in agreement for 3.5 months for those. So, yeah. So, obviously, if you get a little bit better, scheduling is an issue here.
Yeah.
So we got to go find some other good games.
Hopefully. All right. Well, I'm just looking here. TCU, by the way, is at the bottom of the Big 12. So that was the game.
Yeah. That's why we wanted to go there. You feel like you might have a chance.
New Mexico's right in the middle of the pack. They're 17-11. They're having a good year in the Mountain West. They're not bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
So just it is what it is. That's why we're starting the Big Sky Challenge next year.
Yep.
So I think all the coaches were in favor of that, just because that gets us 2 more non-conference games, and you don't have to be calling everybody. It's something that's already done, and you're not begging people to play here or there. We don't have great schedule usually because we need the game, so you just concede timing and dates, and
right.
Well, we need to play, so we have to do this. But no, we don't want to travel 6 games in a row. But to be able to get them in, you have to. But yeah, it is what it is.
Can you call up your buddy Gino? Get a game with them?
Oh, I don't know if you want that. know if we're ready for that. I don't know what the benefit would be to that one.
That would just be fun.
Quite yet. No, we're working on some other bigger games.
Cool.
And seeing if we can get those done and get those into our non-conference schedule.
So I know we're at the time of the year now where we're getting all conference that's going to come out next week. I'm interested just for you and how you view things, how you determine like most outstanding player, most valuable player of the league, the player of the year. Because is it when you most valuable to the team, most valuable? How do you determine that when you're sitting down to do your votes for all conference?
Personally, for me, I've always gone with who's the most valuable player to their team, regardless of like maybe the record. Most people just say who's the best player on the best team.
Right.
And I mean, for me, Maya Sellen is the best player in the league. And she's also really critical to what they do. Now, they would still be a very good team without her. But she's the best player in the league, I think, by far. So I've always but there's been other years where, if somebody was third or fourth and kid's having a great year and you're the best player, that's who I would vote for.
Because we got an email we got an email saying, well, Heaven should get some votes for that, which I agree. But I think you look at Maya Sellen or a Hannah Cooper, they're both dynamic, really, really good players. It's hard to see where, how that would shake out.
Yeah. And that's, there's no shortage of people having great years, this year.
Yep.
I think Grace Larkin's probably up there with South Dakota. And, those guys right in there, and maybe Elise Stafford before she got hurt. I don't know how that affects, her status with everybody that's voting, because she had a great year up until, just a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that top 3 or 4 players to me are pretty cut and dry, and have had great seasons.
Tell us about St. Thomas. We haven't seen the Tommy since before Christmas. They've won 3 straight games. They're at home tonight. How quote unquote dangerous is this opponent for you guys tonight?
Well, I think anybody that's won 3 games in a row on the road in our league is highly dangerous. They're playing at a good clip. They have usually what you want going right now. Jade Hill's a pretty dynamic point guard that's able to get downhill and work off middle ball screen really well, and then as a pest defensively. Then they have one of the better wings in the league in Nygaard, who's shooting it over 40% from 3, and is playing with confidence and shooting the ball at a high level. So they got a really good wing scorer. And then Langbin, their big, has had some monster games recently, and they've been pounding it into her. They've been running a lot more, specific action for those 3, kind of their big 3, and they've really delivered here recently. So, our focus and game plan and all that obviously revolves around how we're guarding those 3 players. And trying to limit them as much as possible. They're probably don't have the depth they had the last time we played them, with a couple kids out, or at least have been out. Who knows if they'll play tonight? But those 3 have been playing at a high level.
Got my attention, Jory, when they went to Tulsa and won. The last 2 wins are impressive as well. We went down there and they played and won at Oral Roberts. That was eye-opening to me how they played that game. Yeah, and we watched that game getting ready for them and Oral Roberts last week. They just played well. Oral Roberts is a kind of a Jekyll and Hyde, and when you play the way they play and it's chaotic, if you make plays in between the chaos, then you can beat them. If you don't, then you get blown out. And for them to go on the road and do that really well, said a lot about them. I imagine there doesn't need to be a whole lot said about what's at stake with your team. They know full well what you're playing for. It's a 2 seed, chance to have an extra day off if you win a game in Sioux Falls. Just describe that of knowing you got the high-stakes basketball this late in the season. People aren't used to that around here with the women's basketball team.
Yeah, that's what we talked about is, hey, when it gets to late February and early March, How important do we want our games to be?
Right.
And for them to have seeding implications and potentially postseason implications, then you're doing some good things. Now, do I wish, it was for 1 and 2 and we weren't 6 games behind? that's going to come at some point, Dom. But where we're at right now is, I think, still stepping in the right direction. And obviously, these are things, whatever happens this weekend, this is a great learning experience for our team. We're going to have a bunch of kids back, and we're going to play these games on the road late in the year where they have some seeding implications, a little bit extra to them. And how we handle them this weekend, for better or for worse, is going to impact us, in the future.
Mark Brown was telling me he was expecting about 50 family and friends. I don't know if that's still going to happen with the weather to watch Taylor Brown play, but describe, I know when we visited before the season what you were hoping to get out of her experience. To see her performance against Oral Roberts, has that come through in spades, what you were hoping to get with her transferring in this season?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of honestly exactly what we were hoping and looking for. Yeah. The best thing about Taylor that we were comfortable with was what kind of person she was. Yep. Just with multiple people having relationships with her, and people that I knew that knew her and coached her in high school and in AAU and stuff like that. And it was evident in the summertime that, she was just going to come in and blend in really quickly and really easily. She's really easygoing with everybody, great personality, well liked by her teammates. And then, as far as playing, she was never, even at American, was never, the leading scorer or anything, but just played her role, to perfection for what they needed. We've probably asked a little more of her this year as far as production wise. And I think she's delivered. I mean, she's shooting better percentages than she ever has, is more efficient than she's been. And she came into my office earlier in the year and said, "Hey, don't be afraid to hold me accountable. I know I only have 1 year, and it's, I don't want to make her life miserable for a year, when you're here trying to help us out." But, she wanted that, and, we've asked a lot of her and held her to a standard, and she's delivered. Obviously, great fourth quarter the other night, 9 points in the fourth quarter to help us finish it off, made the plays that we worked on making in practice. And she's just been a blessing for our team as really a good bridge from a year where we lost a lot of players and added some new players. Her experience has just kind of bridged us into, this year and next has been great.
I seem like I do this every week with you, but I think it's important to mention this. I just got this sent to me that ESPN announced they're going to do an hour-long pregame show for the national championship game on ABC leading into the title game, which is on network TV. This just keeps going like you and I have been talking about, with more exposure, that the women's game just keeps growing. And you and I talked about this last week, but it's worthwhile. They're not just doing it to do it. They're knowing because people are watching.
Right. Yeah. They wouldn't be doing that unless they thought they were going to make money doing it.
Yeah. Right.
And it's you just get on and you scroll Twitter or you scroll ESPN now and watch Sports Center, whatever it is. The women's highlights are all over the place.
Yeah.
And they're just doing a better job of marketing players that are really marketable, that are outstanding at what they do. And anybody, regardless, male, female, people are drawn to people that are exceptional at whatever they do. And you just want to watch them. You want to watch them perform. I think it's obviously tremendous for our game and our sport. It's exciting. There's a big game on tonight.
Yeah.
South Carolina, Tennessee is a big one. There's just everywhere you turn, there's games that are worth watching right now.
It's also the anniversary of when Bobby Knight threw the chair across the floor at Indiana. You got any memories of you got so upset like you couldn't control? Is anything either in Emporia here that just I gotta let it out?
No, I've been pretty reserved. I'll tell you one Bobby Knight story. When I was having a cup of tea in West Texas in about 2005.
Okay.
And he was the coach at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And so I was in Amarillo, and I went down to watch him in Lubbock, and I sat down on the wrong side of the court where you're supposed to watch practice. And him and Pete Rose sat down right in front of me. So they're good friends, I guess. And I just listened to them talk for like 20 minutes. And then the players came out to practice, and then the coaches came out, and they were putting them through some pre-practice stuff. He just got out of his seat and just started reaming his coaching staff for they just weren't doing it. Just wasn't as crisp as he wanted it to be. And I'll never forget that. But those guys were talking baseball for 25 minutes before
wow.
before practice started.
That's fantastic.
It was pretty interesting.
That's good stuff. Safe travels tonight and tomorrow on your way to Macomb. Good luck. Thanks for doing this, and we'll see you again next week, all right?
Sounds good, Don. Appreciate it.
Good for the time, man. Jory Collins, North Dakota State women's basketball head coach. Bison and St. Thomas tonight at 7 o'clock. We'll have highlights on our news at 10 o'clock. NDSU trying to, at worst, if they win tonight, they lock in at least third place in the Summit League if they are able to beat the Tommies tonight. You sweep, and you're second heading to Sioux Falls, which means you would play the winner of the 7-10 game in Sioux Falls. And if you win that, you get a day off on Sunday before you would play on Monday. As we were mentioning with Brian Shawn earlier, there is the real potential. You could have an NDSU-UND Summit League semifinal a week from Monday. That would be all right. I think that'd be interesting to see how that would play out down in Sioux Falls. We'll take a break, get caught up on a couple things rolling on here on a Thursday morning. Hot Mike returns after this on WDAY Extra at InForum.com. All right, welcome back, everybody, here on this Thursday morning. Our thanks to Jory Collins for joining us. Again, going back to what we were talking about, this came in from frontofficesports.com that this year, the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship game, which will air on WDAY on ABC, now will get an hour-long championship pregame show before it. Much like everything around almost everything women's sports related, they've seen the TV viewership go up on that and are reflectively making a deal on it. Here's the interesting part of this, because as people know, the NCAA and ESPN have a championships deal through next year. 23-24 is when it wraps up. And that's for the 24 NCAA championships. So everything from lacrosse to soccer to FCS football, the women's basketball tournament, the College World Series, the Women's College World Series, all of them fit under that umbrella. The idea, potentially, and they have done research on this, is, and they got this deal, I think it was for $500 million. That was, and that deal was signed, by the way, in 2011. Okay? Which is completely outdated now. But there is talk that the women's basketball tournament alone could be worth about $115 million each year, which obviously ESPN wants to stake its claim in that, knowing they lost the Big Ten. They want to invest its resources there. And that's why we talked about it this past fall, and I'm sure we will this spring and heading into next season, and whenever a deal is made, of what they think the value is for the FCS tournament. Is there more value than what they're getting from ESPN right now? And I would caution them on that on FCS football. I certainly think there is there for women's basketball, but there's only so many networks that can show football in that time window. Knowing, I understand what the college football playoff is coming, that's going to shoehorn out those dates that you associate now, like the quarterfinal game on ESPN, that 11 a.m. game, or a Friday night game on ESPN2. Those may go bye-bye with the new playoff coming. Well, I won't say could. They will go if they move those dates. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not going to pay, hey, we have a chance to put the college football playoff quarterfinal on or an FCS quarterfinal on. What do you think we should do here? Come on. That's why if a Fox was interested in getting in, maybe they share it. I don't know. I think from what I was told in Frisco asking about this, the commissioners love the ESPN exposure. But I don't know if they're going to like their new windows when they see, hey, in 2024, when the college football playoff goes to 12 teams, and we already talked about this, they're not going to go head-to-head against the NFL. They don't want to. We know how that goes. We saw that firsthand with the FCS title game this year. Then maybe we get off of traditionally Friday and Saturday. Maybe we play on a Wednesday or a Thursday, or a Thursday and a Friday for those quarterfinal, semifinal games. I'm just trying to, if you think of the traditional schedule now, right? The first weekend in December is conference championship game weekend in big boy football. That also coincides with the second round of the FCS playoffs. So if you advance that a week further, now we're into the quarterfinals of the FCS, and that would be the first round of the college football playoff. Those 4 games being played on campus sites, right? The 5-12, 6-11, 7-8, or 7-10, and the 8-9 games are happening then. Probably want to stay away from that. But let's just say you put 2 games on Friday, 2 games on Saturday. FCS is thinking, well, wait a minute. Are we a streamed-only option here? I don't know. Again, those are advanced conversations beyond me, but I would think that those are going to be really hard for the FCS to say, can we get a window here? Then you go the next weekend. So now what are you in? The third weekend of December is traditional FCS semifinals. That's going to be the quarterfinal round of the big boy tournament. Again, so now we're talking the heavy hitters. Let's just put Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson playing against the winners from the previous weekend. There ain't no room for the FCS there. That's what I'm saying. So I'll be interested if they decide that they want to separate all these championships or still lump them together. I think the women's basketball is that's going to be solo on its own deal. But are they still going to lump lacrosse, soccer, the college baseball World Series, the volleyball championship, which is becoming more and more valuable by the year, and the FCS tournament all together? Because I'll ask you this. Who would show it? If you're telling me, well, we can get it on Fox Sports 2, then FCS is not much better off than just staying on ESPN Plus. I mean, the viewership there is negligible. There's only so many networks now. That's what the FCS has got to be careful of going forward on the negotiations if they want to go solo. We're due for a break. We come back. We'll check in live at the Ralph. We're about 90 minutes away from getting things started on the open. You see the Zam is out there. Warm-ups are coming up. We'll check in with our guy Sam Goetzinger when Hot Mike returns on WDAY Extra at InForum.com. All right, welcome back, everybody, here on a Thursday morning. Busy sports day. Despite Mother Nature trying to knock us out, we are moving forward. It's state tournaments. They are happening come hell or high water. And some rather large college basketball games are happening despite what the weather looks like outside. Everything that could happen is still happening here. So if you want to see the Western UND men's basketball game coming up at 11 a.m., that's still going on. Obviously, the state girls hockey tournament going on in the Twin Cities. Played day 1. They'll play day 2 today. Region championship girls basketball is happening across the state. No delays or cancellations or postponements as of yet. Those have not happened as we sit here on 10:37 on Thursday morning. The Bison basketball game against St. Thomas, despite the fact that the university is closed, that will still happen tonight at the Shack between St. Thomas and North Dakota State. It's a whiteout, by the way, for Bison fans to attend, which is fitting considering what the weather is outside. And the North Dakota boys state hockey tournament is still good to go for today, which will drop the puck in about 90 minutes as we will drop the puck with our first game between Grand Forks, Red River, and Jamestown. The man who will call the action joins us here live on location at the Ralph. One Sam Goetzinger, who I'm testing the vocal cords already because he's got about 10 hours of calling hockey. My man, it's great to see you. I'm super excited for you. Give us the lowdown. What was overnight like last night up in Grand Forks?
Well, we came up yesterday at about 4 o'clock, and I tell you what, there was a stretch there from about Fargo to Hillsboro. Had no idea where the road was. And then once you got past Hillsboro, you're able to see in spurts, but it was pretty windy. Had a good night at the hotel, got some good rest, and did a lot of prep. I got my sheets here with me.
There you go.
This is my first time here at the Ralph, actually, so this is pretty impressive.
I was going to say, that's a heck of a debut to be doing state hockey here today. I know everybody left yesterday. I had an email about that, Sam. I was wondering if there were any concerns, but all 8 teams came in yesterday to the Ralph, correct?
Yeah, for the most part, there were some questions on some of these Fargo teams. A lot of them were playing it by ear. Of course, they had the experience with the weather in the EDC tournament last year, so they just pack up and go and leave whenever they felt like they needed to. But, yeah, it sounds like a lot of them left yesterday, and they're planning to stay the weekend, and they weren't originally planning to do that. A lot of these Fargo teams were going to go back and forth.
Well, as we were talking earlier this week, this has been East-dominated over the last 3 years, that the West has not won a game in the first round since 2019. Do you get a sense, is that a trend that continues here today, or do we get a chance that a Western team can break through?
I honestly, I don't. I think that trend stops today. I find the West really intriguing this year. Talking with all the coaches, looking at all the numbers, and watching some film. I think those middle 2 games today, you want to keep your eyes on, because I think those are going to be pretty exciting. And I want to say this is the year that the West makes a good run here at the state tournament.
Minot and Cheyenne is our second game. That'll come up about 2:30. Bismarck Legacy will lead off the evening session. They're making their state tournament debut against Davies. Red River plays the first game. They are the defending champs. You can't miss them with their bleach blonde hair that they do every year in the postseason. You've seen Red River earlier this year. How dynamic a team is this? Are they the beyond favorite? Are they the heavy favorite, Sam, to win this thing?
Yes. The short answer, yes, they are. I wish I would have did my hair blonde, but I don't think I would have been allowed on TV at that point. But I find it interesting with Red River. This is like their 55th time making it to the state tournament, which is ridiculous to me. But you look at hockey teams, not even just in North Dakota, but in Minnesota, you have 1 or 2 guys that, really stand out above the rest. But you look at Red River, they have 2-3 lines that are just ridiculously good. They got 4 out of the top 5 point getters in the state of North Dakota, and I believe 6 out of the top 10. You just look at that; it's unreal, and it all starts with Mikey Coleman, Dylan Jackson, Carter Spruill. Yes, they're the heavy hitters in this one, but especially in this first game, you can't count out Jamestown. Dean Wilson, who we're going to do the games with all weekend long, likes to call them a lunch pail team. Yeah. They're going to bring their shovels and they're going to get to work, and I think they'll give Red River a good game here in this opening game of the quarterfinals. I'm interested to see Bismarck Legacy there with Mario Lamoureux, who obviously played and starred at that arena that you're at. He's the head coach, and we had him on the show when he took the job a couple years ago, knowing starting from the grassroots here, from the ground up, but he's got Legacy now at state. They won the WDA. I'm intrigued to see how they play against the Davies team. As you well know, we had Nate Metcalf on the show Monday, Sam. They played 4 overtimes just to beat North on Saturday. I don't know how much they got a couple days off, but how much they still got in the tank to come right back out and play state here tonight. Right, that's going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye out for with Davies. But even Davies coming in as the 4 seed, and they were entering the EDC tournament as the 6. They're a really fun team to watch, and they've picked up a lot of steam in the late part of the season. But you're right about Legacy, a program that's only been around for 2 years. I talked to Mario earlier this week, and he's excited. He's excited to be back in this building. He won a state championship here with Grand Forks Central about 20 years ago or so. And then, of course, played at UND. So he's excited to be here, and he hopes his team doesn't get starstruck in this building, because he was telling me that the parents were telling him, and, of course, the players were telling him that it's been a lifelong dream to play here at the Ralph, and hopefully they don't get caught under the lights. But I think they're going to be one of those teams that really can make a push in the West. It's always, as you've covered hockey forever, you know that if a goaltender gets hot, they could steal this whole thing. I remember seeing it in 2015. Minot's goalie got
crazy hot. They ended up winning the whole championship. Is there a goalie that can do this that you've seen on these 8 teams that can maybe surprise something and run and get them all the way to Saturday night?
Well, I was talking with Dean about this, Dean Wilson, over the last couple of days. It seems like this tournament, everybody's got a really good goaltender. Minot's one of the only teams in this tournament that has 2 that they've switched out throughout the year, but I think they're going to bring their one that's been on a streak into this quarterfinal round today. But everybody's got a good goaltender. Andrew Walls in this game and Jake Jenkins, that's going to start at 12 o'clock. Those 2 guys are really playing good hockey, but I think if I had to, single out just a couple of other ones, Gavin Erickson on Davies, he's been phenomenal all year, and he's held Fargo South to 1 goal. He took Red River into a shootout and almost won that one too. But also for Fargo South, Noah Olsenowski is one of only 2 goaltenders in the state, the only one that's played over 20 games that has a less than 1 goals against average, and he's going to be a big factor. And I think he's a guy that can really backstop South Shanley into a run even to the title game. Okay, so I've done this for a bit. I had my water, I had cough drops, I had some tea. What's the elixir today? What are you going with? Because you got to do 4 of these, man. So what's the combo to make sure you're good to go today? Well, I tell you what, I am underprepared for this right now, Dom. I have a water bottle. I have to find a water fountain somewhere around here. I'm just assuming that the Ralph has a water fountain around here. It's not too far from there. I don't have any cough drops, and I don't have any tea on me at the moment. So we're planning on leaving tonight, and I'll see how it feels after. But I'm going to be bringing all my tea and stuff up for Friday and Saturday. That's for sure. But I'm hoping that water, and if I can find a coffee around here somewhere, that'll be the go-to move today. All right. So just pace yourself. You'll be fine. Don't get, that's the biggest thing I always learn. Don't go super high in the first game, because then you still got a couple more to go. You needed to go the whole way. But if you need any of that stuff, I got you covered back here at the station. So you need any of that, I got you hooked up here, all right? All right, sounds good. That's good to know. Yeah, hopefully my younger vocal cords will help me out a little bit this weekend. What is the longest game you've ever called? Have you had a multiple overtime, like 3, 4? Have you ever done a 3, 4 overtime game? I don't know if I've ever gotten to 3 or 4 overtimes. I've definitely gotten to 2 a couple of times at the high school level. Yeah. I think doing a couple of St. Cloud men's games, but in studio for that, so I wasn't calling a game, but I was kind of sitting back and watching. I think we went into a pretty deep game against Colorado College a couple of years ago. But for me, when it gets to overtime, my heart starts pounding a little bit. So if we go to 8 overtimes or 3 or 4 in a game at some point this weekend, I don't know if my heart's going to handle it, but it'll be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to you and Dean and Rachel on the call. Thanks so much for doing this, man. Have a great call today. We got a bunch of people watching. Thanks so much for the time, man. Have a great day, okay? Yeah, thanks, Tom. We'll see you later. Good to see you. There he is, Sam Goetzinger. He'll be on the call along with the Hall of Famer. I'm supposed to say that every time. Dean Wilson, Rachel Herzog will be ice side, and they'll have all the games for you. Let's throw that up again just so everybody can get familiar with what we have coming up today in terms of our TV coverage, which begins here at noon. All the games are on Extra today. You can also stream them on the WDAY Sports Plus tab at InForum.com. I've already had people ask me about this, and I'm just getting me ready for the standard answer I'm going to have between now and the end of March. If you have an InForum subscription, that does not get you the games. There is a separate subscription you need to purchase to watch our state tournament games starting today and running all the way through the boys Class B in Bismarck. So if you have a subscription to the Herald or the Dickinson Press, that will not get you access to the games. You need a subscription to WDAY Sports Plus. That will get you the opportunity to watch our games today, and then everything after that. It's not just this weekend. You can watch everything. If you want to watch the Bison men's game tonight, you can do that. If you want to watch next week's games from Minot, whether the girls hockey tournament or the girls Class B, that'll get you in there. So just a
fair bit of warning on that because I know we always get some phone calls on it, and I'll get some nasty emails or tweets about it. That is the strategy on that. Now, to the games. Again, at noon, Red River and Jamestown is first up. That'll be followed by Minot and Cheyenne at about 2:30. Legacy and Davies will play the third game at about 5:30, and then we'll wrap it up with South Shanley against Bismarck Century. All the games are on WDAY Extra, so if you're watching us here, don't change the channel. We'll have all the games coming up today, and then tomorrow and Friday, we move to WDAY for the semifinals and the championship. Again, this is the first of a 2-year trial where the boys and the girls tournaments are not sandwiched together. The girls will play their state tournament next week out in Minot at the Mesa Arena. Sam will be there for all the games coming up next weekend from Minot. So busy couple weeks for our guy, Sam Goetzinger, who I still hold a personal beef with considering I beat him in fantasy football, but Drew ruled against me on that. Anyway, we'll take our final break. We come back, we'll get you ready, update everything that's going on. Look outside the Ralph here. Sports are going to happen today. Mother Nature tried, but we're plowing ahead. We'll wrap the show right after this. Cool shot there as the gates will open here in a matter of minutes for the first of 4 games up at the Ralph between Jamestown and Grand Forks Red River will lead us off. In about an hour's time, right here on WDAY Extra, you'll see the first of the 4 quarterfinals with our great crew up there. As I'm talking about it, by the way, I got 2 emails into my inbox for Summit League All-League voting for the men's and the women's. So I have to have that in by Wednesday. So when we're back on Monday, I'll certainly divulge who I voted for Summit League men's and women's players of the year and all conference teams, which they'll unveil that probably, I'd say, a week from today, since the tournament starts a week from Friday down in Sioux Falls. All right, let's get you ready for what to watch. We got a lot going on today on a busy Thursday, despite what the weather wanted to do. The North Dakota State Hockey Tournament, as we mentioned, begins at noon on Extra. All 4 games are there. You can watch them on TV, stream it on your phone, however you want to do. If you're at work today, you can still watch the games. They're also available on WDAY Sports Plus at InForum.com. The Bison men will take on St. Thomas tonight, 7 o'clock on WDAY. Big boy WDAY tonight for the Tommies and the Bison. Huge game. Those 2 teams start the day tied for 3rd in the Summit League standings. The winner of that will have the inside track to the 3 seed in Sioux Falls. Bison lost to St. Thomas earlier this season. They got some dynamite young players. Andrew Rohde's one you're going to want to watch for St. Thomas. He's a dynamite player. Parker Bjorklund, really good player. His cousin actually is former Bison standout Marshall Bjorklund. So you'll want to check that out tonight. WDAY at 7 o'clock. Myself and Freddie Coleman will have the call of that game tonight on WDAY. The Minnesota Wild are in action tonight. They are on the road at Columbus to take on the Blue Jackets. 6 o'clock tonight on Bally Sports North. Columbus is the worst team in the Eastern Conference. So the Wild, who've won 3 in a row here, maybe a chance to make it 4 in a row against a bad Columbus team and stay in the thick of things for that final playoff spot in the Western Conference. So that's coming up at 6 o'clock tonight on Bally Sports North. A couple other things. The Moorhead Spuds girls hockey team plays tonight at the 2A state hockey tournament in St. Paul. That game is scheduled to start at 8. I don't think it's starting at 8. Those games just tend not to. It's probably closer to 8:15, maybe even 8:30. That's on Prep Spotlight TV to stream those games. They're not on television, so if you're looking for them tonight, it's only streamed for the Spuds and Gentry Academy in that game that's coming up. As for the region championship games, as we sit here now at 10:56 and 30 seconds, everything is still on for the 6 games that are going to go tonight. So we'll know 6 of the 8 teams that are going to play in Minot next week. The other 2 will be determined tomorrow, the Region 1 championship and Region 3, at least as we sit here now. If that changes, of course, stay tuned to WDAY, InForum.com. We'll update you on any potential changes for the region basketball games. But that is, as we sit here right now, that's where we're at. So as much as Mother Nature tried to, we're still moving forward with games. So it's going to be a fun Thursday. Thanks to our guests today, to Ryan Kraft, Brian Shawn, Jory Collins, and Sam Goetzinger. If you missed any of our show, you can podcast it later today at InForum.com. Special shout-out to both our crew here at Studio B and the guys up in Grand Forks for making our show happen here today as well. Enjoy the hockey, the hoops. We'll recap everything tomorrow before we say so long for the week. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.